types of ratios. All right, so we're going to talk about ratios kind of within two types. And those two types are part to part and part to whole. And what we mean by this is by part of whatever we're talking about. So let's say that, I'm throwing out an example here. It's not anywhere that you're going to see. But let's talk about a class. Now, in a class, there are 30 people. There are 12 girls and 18 boys. Okay, now a part-to-part ratio could be girls to boys, or it could be boys to girls. And yes, those are different of what comes first. Part-to-part, the reason those two are part-to-part is because girls and boys are both part of the total population. So because each is a part, it is called a part-to-part ratio. Part-to-part ratios we write as decimals. Always. Okay? I mean, you can write, you can write it as a fraction, of course, but we simplify it to be a decimal. Now, when I talk about a part to whole ratio, I could talk about girls to the total. I could talk about boys to the total. Because girls are a part of the population, total is the whole thing. It's everybody. So if you are comparing part of a sample or part of a population to the whole thing, that is a part to whole ratio. Now, part to whole ratios can be written as percents. And so that's the huge difference, is that a part to part ratio can only be written as a decimal, while a part to whole ratio can be written as a percent. And that's important so that you can say, 20% of the population likes blue hair, or 38% of the population cheers for the San Francisco Giants, whatever. You can talk about it in terms of percents. Okay, so that is kind of important. So let's do some problems here. We have a class of 26 students where there are 16 men and 10 women. And we're going to use this to answer a few questions. So part one, what is the ratio of women to the whole class? Now, again, pay attention to what comes first. They talk about women first, so women is on the top, to the whole class. That means the whole class is on the bottom. So in writing this as a fraction, women goes on top. Well, how many women are there? 10. How much is the whole class? 26. Hopefully something triggers in your brain and you say, wow, those are both even numbers. I can divide both of them by 2. And I end up with 5 over 13. There is my ratio of women to the whole class as a reduced fraction. Now, can I write this as a percent? So you got to think, is this part to part or part to whole? Whole class. This is part to whole. So the answer is yes, I can write it as a percent. I would take 5 divided by 13 and change it to a decimal, 0.3846. I would then move my decimal 2 places to be 38.46%. The meaningful sentence, 38.46% of the class is women. And there is my meaningful sentence. So because it's part to whole, I can write it as a percent. Number 2, what is the ratio of men to women? Okay, men comes first, so men on the top. Women come second, so they're on the bottom. Now, how many men are there? I don't remember. 16 men, 10 women. Okay, so we have 16 over 10. All right, those are, again, both even, so I can divide by 2, and I end up with 8 over 5. Can that be written as a percent? Men and women, part. No, because this is a part-to-part ratio. Interpret the ratio in a meaningful sentence. Well, 8 to 5, so we could say there are 8 men for every 5 women. Now, if I would take 8 divided by 5, I get 1.6. Okay, sorry, my thing was being stupid. So I get 1.6. Now, as a fraction, that's over 1. So I could say there are 1.6 men to every 1 woman. Because sometimes, should be woman, sometimes you don't want to say 8 to 5 or 392 to 747. The fractions sometimes just don't work as nice. So if you divide, turn it into a decimal, put it over 1, you've got a smaller fraction that sometimes is just a little bit more meaningful.